The garage door was open when I pulled into the driveway. That was the first wrong thing. Tom never left it open. 20 years of Saturday mornings, every weekend, every holiday. He'd be in there with that damn car, and the door would be closed, always closed. I stepped out of my Honda, groceries still in the trunk, and walked toward that gaping black mouth. My stomach already knew something was wrong. Your body knows before your brain catches up. That's what Tom used to say when he'd spot a bad engine just by listening to it idle. The second wrong thing, silence. No classic rock playing on his old radio. No clink of tools. No Tom. I stepped inside and my purse dropped from my shoulder. The garage was empty. Not just empty of Tom. He was at his brother's place upstate for the weekend, empty of the car. The 1967 Shelby GT500. Eleanor, he called her. 20 years of restoration work. 20 years of hunting parts at swap meets. 20 years of coming home with grease under his fingernails and that satisfied smile on his face. Gone. I stood there in the middle of the concrete floor, staring at the oil stain where she used to sit. The pegboard still held his tools, all organized by size like always. The calendar on the wall still showed Miss July 1985, the year we got married. But the car, his life's work, his pride, his obsession, was gone. My phone was in my hand before I remembered picking it up. I called Tom, straight to voicemail. His brother's cabin had spotty service. I tried again. Nothing. Then I called Ben, our son. My hand shook as I dialed. Mom? He sounded annoyed. Ben always sounded annoyed these days, ever since he married Tiffany 3 months ago. Ben, where's your father's car? Silence. Too long. Ben? Oh, yeah, I was going to tell you guys. Tell us what? I sold it. Got a good price too. 45 grand. The garage tilted. I grabbed the workbench to steady myself. You... What? Relax, Mum. It's not a big deal. Tiff really wanted to do Paris for our honeymoon, and Dad wasn't going to sell it himself, so... Not a big deal? My voice came out strangled. Your father spent 20 years on that car. 20 years, Ben. Yeah, and it was just sitting there. What's he going to do, drive it? He never drives it. It was basically a garage decoration. It was his dream. It was a hunk of metal, Mum. Tiffany wanted Paris. I made it happen. You and Dad need to get over it. We're married now. I have new priorities. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think, couldn't process that my son, my boy who Tom taught to change oil, to check tire pressure, to respect the work that goes into something, had stolen his father's car and sold it for a vacation. Who'd you sell it to? Some dealer. I don't remember the name. Look, I got to go. Tiff and I are meeting the wedding photographer to review prints. I'll call you later. He hung up. I stood in that empty garage for 20 minutes. Just stood there, staring at nothing, trying to understand how the boy I raised became this stranger, how the kid who cried when his goldfish died could care so little about destroying his father's dreams. My phone rang. Unknown number. Hello? Mrs. Harper, this is Dale Freeman from Freeman's Classic Auto Sales. I'm calling about the Shelby GT500 your son brought in last week. You bought it? My voice was flat. Yes, ma'am. Beautiful restoration work. Really exceptional. But there's a problem. When I went to detail the interior, I found something in the glove box. Your husband left something inside. Ma'am, you need to come to the dealership right now. This is... Well, you just need to come see this, as soon as possible. My heart hammered. What did he leave? I'd rather show you in person, Mrs. Harper. Can you come today, this afternoon? It's important. Something in his voice made my skin prickle. I'll be there in an hour. I grabbed my keys and didn't look back at the empty garage. Whatever Tom had hidden in that car, whatever Dale Freeman found, it was bigger than I thought. Tom didn't do anything by accident. If he'd left something in Eleanor's glove box, he meant for someone to find it. And now I needed to know what it was. Before we continue, hit the hype button, subscribe, and like the video to help the channel grow. Tell us which city you are from in the comments. We'd love to get to know our audience better. Freeman's classic auto sales sat on the east side of town, wedged between a tire shop and a shuttered restaurant. The lot gleamed with muscle cars, vintage Corvettes, and restored Camaros. Eleanor sat in the front row, cherry red paint gleaming under the afternoon sun. I parked and just stared at her for a minute. Tom had painted her himself, 3 coats of candy apple red, wet sanded between each layer. The chrome bumpers reflected the sky. 20 years of love, stolen by our son for $45,000 and a trip to Paris. A man in his 50s emerged from the office. Grey beard, flannel shirt, the kind of guy who looked like he knew carburetors from computers. Dale Freeman, I guessed. Mrs. Harper, he extended his hand. That's me. I'm sorry about the circumstances. Your son said you folks knew about the sale. When I found what was in the car, I realized that probably wasn't true. What did you find? He glanced around the lot, then gestured toward the office. Come inside. You'll want to sit down for this. The office smelled like coffee and motor oil. Posters of classic cars covered the walls. Dale closed the door and pulled out a leather binder from his desk drawer. He set it in front of me. This was in the glove box, locked. Your husband hid the key under the driver's seat, taped to the undercarriage. I opened the binder. The first page showed a photograph of Eleanor the day Tom bought her. Rusted, beaten, sitting in some farmer's field. The next pages chronicled the restoration. Engine rebuild, frame repair, interior restoration. Every receipt, every part number, every hour logged. Tom's handwriting filled the margins with notes. This is beautiful, I said, but why did you need me to... Keep going. I flipped past the restoration logs. The next section made my breath catch. Documents, legal documents, a copy of Tom's will, dated 6 months ago, a letter addressed to me, and underneath, a manila envelope marked, in case of emergency, open immediately. I looked up at Dale. Did you read these? The letter on top was addressed to whoever found the binder. I read that one. The rest is sealed. I didn't touch it. My hands trembled as I pulled out the first letter. To whoever finds this binder, my name is Tom Harper. If you're reading this, it means my son Ben sold this car without my permission. The car was never his to sell. Please contact my wife, Susan Harper, immediately. The documents in this binder contain information about my family that my wife needs to see right away. Do not give this binder to anyone but her. My son can't be trusted. Tom Harper. I read it twice. Tom knew. Somehow he knew Ben would betray us. There's more, Dale said quietly. The envelope. I pulled out the manila envelope. My name was written across the front in Tom's handwriting. Susan, open this immediately. Trust me. I'm sorry I couldn't tell you before. Tom. I tore it open. Inside were bank statements, credit reports, and legal papers I couldn't immediately identify. I started reading, and my world inverted. The bank statements showed transactions from Ben's account. Our son had been taking money from Tom's business account for 8 months. Small amounts at first, $200 here, $300 there. Then bigger, $2,000, $5,000. The statements went back to 2 months before Ben's engagement to Tiffany. $23,000, stolen from his father's auto shop, the shop Tom built from nothing 40 years ago. The credit report showed something worse. Ben had opened credit cards in Tom's name, 3 cards, maxed out, $38,000 in debt that Tom never authorized. The charges were recent, all within the last 6 months. And the legal papers. God, the legal papers. Photocopies of checks Ben had forged. Tom's signature, copied and used to drain their shared emergency account. The account Tom kept for shop repairs and medical emergencies. $15,000 gone. I felt numb, hollow. like someone had scooped out my insides and left an echo chamber where my heart used to be. "Mrs. Harper," Dale's voice seemed far away. "My son stole from us," I whispered. "He's been stealing for months." "I'm sorry," I kept reading. The final document was a notarized statement from Tom's accountant documenting the theft. Tom had been building a case, evidence, proof. He'd been preparing to press charges. A handwritten note was clipped to the statement. "Susan, I found out about the theft 3 weeks ago. I've been investigating quietly. Ben doesn't know I know. I'm gathering evidence before I confront him. I'm going to report this to the police after I get back from Jerry's cabin. I need the weekend to think about how to handle this without destroying our family. But if something happens to me, if Ben sells the car before I can stop him, you need to know the truth. He's not the boy we raised anymore. Tiffany changed him, or maybe she just brought out what was always there. Either way, we can't trust him. I'm sorry I kept this from you. I wanted to be sure before I broke your heart. I love you. Tom." I sat in Dale Freeman's office and cried, not quiet tears, big, heaving sobs that came from somewhere deep and broken. Dale left the room, gave me privacy. When I finally stopped, my face was swollen and my throat hurt. Tom knew he'd been protecting me, and now he was up at his brother's cabin with no phone service, no idea that Ben had sold Eleanor, and triggered the very scenario Tom had been dreading. I pulled out my phone and called Tom again. Still no answer. I tried Jerry's landline. No answer there either. "Mrs. Harper," Dale had returned with a glass of water. "What do you want to do?" "I need to keep these documents. They're evidence." "They're yours. The binder, too. That's your husband's property." I stood, clutching the binder to my chest. "How did you know to call me? Ben could have given you any number." "Your husband was smart. He put your contact information in the binder, highlighted in yellow. He wanted to make sure you got this if anything happened. Tom, always thinking 3 steps ahead, always protecting me." "Thank you," I said, "for calling me, for not giving this to Ben. I've been in this business 30 years. I can spot a stolen car from a mile away. Your son's story didn't add up. The way he rushed the sale, the way he wouldn't let me contact you first, I knew something was wrong. When I found the binder, I understood why." I walked out into the sunlight. Eleanor sat there, gleaming and beautiful. Tom's dream, sold by our son's greed. I wanted to buy her back, to bring her home, to make this right. But I didn't have $45,000. Tom's business account was drained. Our emergency fund was empty. Ben had made sure of that. I got in my Honda and drove home, the binder on the passenger seat, like a bomb waiting to detonate. Tom would be home tomorrow evening. I'd show him the binder, tell him I knew everything. And then we'd decide together how to handle our son's betrayal. But as I pulled into our driveway, I saw a silver Mercedes parked in front of the house. Ben's car, or rather Tiffany's car. The Mercedes was a wedding gift from her parents. Ben's old Toyota had been too embarrassing for his new wife. They were waiting on the front porch. Ben in designer jeans and a polo shirt. Tiffany in a sundress that probably cost more than my car payment, her platinum hair styled in perfect waves. I grabbed the binder and stepped out. "Mom!" Ben waved like nothing was wrong, like he hadn't just destroyed his father's dreams. "We were in the neighborhood, thought we'd stop by." Tiffany smiled, all white teeth and calculation. "Susan, we have the most amazing news." I clutched the binder tighter. "What news?" "We found the perfect apartment in the city." Tiffany clapped her hands. "It's a penthouse, 2 bedrooms, incredible view. But here's the thing, they need the deposit by tomorrow. First month, last month, and security. $36,000. My stomach dropped. $36,000. "I know it's a lot," Ben said, "but this is our chance to get into the perfect building. Dad's business is doing great, right? He can afford to help us out." "Help you out," I repeated slowly. "You want your father to give you $36,000. It's not giving, it's investing in our future. We'll pay him back eventually. Plus, he'll have the car money soon, right? Oh, wait. Ben grinned. I already sold the car, so technically he's already got the cash. He just doesn't know it yet. Perfect timing. I stared at my son, at this stranger wearing my son's face, the boy who used to bring me dandelions, the kid who cried at Bambi, the teenager who promised to take care of us when we got old. Gone. All of it. Gone. No, I said. Ben's smile faltered. No. No. The answer is no. You're not getting another penny from your father. You're not getting our help with your apartment. You're not getting anything. Tiffany's face hardened. The sweet smile vanished, replaced by something cold and sharp. Susan, I don't think you understand how important this apartment is. I understand perfectly. You want more money. You always want more money. Well, you're not getting it. Mom, what the hell? Ben's face reddened. Why are you being like this? It's just money. Dad makes plenty. Your father knows. The words came out flat and cold. Ben froze. Knows what? I held up the binder. Everything. The stolen money, the forged checks, the credit cards, all of it. He's been documenting it for weeks. This was in the car you sold, the car you had no right to sell. The color drained from Ben's face. Mum, I can explain. Don't. I climbed the porch steps, forcing them to move aside. Get off my property, both of you. You can't just... Tiffany started. I can. And I am. You're not welcome here anymore. When your father gets home tomorrow, we're calling the police. You stole from us, Ben. You forged documents. You committed fraud. That's not family drama, that's crime. Mum, please. Ben's voice cracked. We can fix this. I'll pay it back. I swear. Just don't call the cops, please. I looked at my son and felt nothing but cold fury. You should have thought about that before you sold your father's dreams for a trip to Paris. I walked inside and locked the door behind me. Through the window, I watched them argue on the porch. Tiffany's face was twisted with rage. Ben looked scared, finally understanding what he'd done. Good. He should be scared. They drove away 15 minutes later, tires squealing on the pavement. I sat on the couch with Tom's binder, reading every page, memorizing every detail of our son's betrayal. The phone rang at 8 p.m. Tom finally calling back from Jerry's cabin. Sue, sorry, service up here is terrible. Got your messages. What's wrong? I told him everything. The empty garage, Dale Freeman's call, the binder, Ben's visit, all of it, in one long tumble of words that left me shaking. Silence on the other end. Then, I'm coming home tonight. I'll drive through the night. Don't let Ben in the house. Don't talk to him. I'll be there by morning. Tom, the roads are dangerous at night. I don't care. Someone stole my car. My son betrayed us. I'm coming home. He hung up. I sat in the dark living room, the binder on my lap, and waited for morning. Tom walked through the door at 6 a.m., looking like he'd aged 10 years overnight. He dropped his overnight bag and pulled me into a hug that lasted a full minute. Where's the binder? He asked. I handed it to him. He flipped through the pages, his face hardening with each one. When he finished, he closed it carefully and set it on the coffee table. I've been planning what to do, he said. For weeks now, since I found the first forged check, I wanted to believe I was wrong, that there was some explanation, but then I found more, and I had to face the truth. What truth? Our son is a thief. Tiffany saw an easy mark and she's bleeding us dry. Ben's too weak or too stupid to stop her. Either way, we can't help him anymore. We have to protect ourselves. I nodded. You're going to the police? Not yet. Tom's eyes were hard. First, I'm going to make sure they can't take anything else from us. Then I'm going to make them pay. How? He sat down heavily on the couch. The apartment they want, the $36,000 deposit. I know which building it is. Tiffany's been posting about it on social media for weeks. The Riverside Towers, penthouse units, very exclusive, very expensive. Tom, the building management company is owned by a guy I went to high school with, Rick Paulson. We're not close, but we're friendly. I'm going to call him today. And tell him what? The truth. That my son is trying to secure an apartment using money he stole from me. That any checks or financial documents Ben provides are likely fraudulent. That Rick should verify everything extra carefully before accepting any applications from Ben Harper or Tiffany Harper. I stared at him. You're going to sabotage their apartment. I'm going to prevent them from using stolen money to rent a penthouse they can't afford. There's a difference. What about Eleanor? The car? Tom's face tightened. That's more complicated. Ben sold her legally. He was on the title as co-owner. I added him years ago, back when I thought I could trust him. That was my mistake. I can't force the dealer to sell her back. But I'm going to try to buy her back anyway. Freeman said he'd be willing to negotiate once the paperwork clears. We don't have the money. I'll take a loan against the shop. I'll make it work. Eleanor's coming home, Sue, one way or another. The doorbell rang at 10 a.m. Ben and Tiffany stood on the porch again, looking determined. Tom opened the door before I could stop him. Dad. Ben's relief was palpable. Thank God. Mom was acting crazy yesterday. I tried to explain. Get off my porch, Tom said quietly. Ben blinked. What? I said get off my porch. You're not welcome here. Tiffany stepped forward. Tom, there's been a misunderstanding. No misunderstanding. I know about the money you stole. I know about the forged checks. I know everything, Ben. I've known for weeks. Ben's face went white. Dad, I can explain. You stole $23,000 from my business account. You forged my signature on checks worth $15,000. You opened credit cards in my name and maxed them out. $76,000, Ben. You stole $76,000 from your parents. It was supposed to be a loan. Ben's voice cracked. I was going to pay it back. The wedding was expensive, and Tiff's parents expected us to contribute, and I didn't know how to ask. So you stole. I borrowed. Without permission, using fraud. That's theft, son. That's criminal. Tiffany grabbed Ben's arm. We don't have to listen to this. Let's go. No. Tom blocked the doorway. You're not leaving until I'm finished. You sold my car for $45,000. Where's that money? Ben hesitated too long. Ben? Tom's voice dropped to a dangerous whisper. Where's the money from my car? We used it for Paris, and other things. What other things? The security deposit on the apartment, first month's rent, some furniture. Tiff needed a new wardrobe for her job. We had expenses. You spent $45,000 in 3 weeks. It's expensive to start a marriage. You don't understand the pressure we're under. I understand you're thieves. Tom's face was stone. Both of you. You came into my house, ate my food, smiled at me, and the whole time you were stealing from me, destroying my credit, taking everything I worked for. Dad, please. I'm calling the police tomorrow. I'm pressing charges. Identity theft, fraud, forgery. Take your pick. When they arrest you, you'll understand exactly what you've done. Tiffany's face twisted with rage. You can't do this. He's your son. He was my son. Now he's a criminal who stole from his family. Tom stepped back. Get out. If you come on my property again, I'll call the cops right now instead of tomorrow. Your choice. Ben stood frozen, tears running down his face. Dad, don't do this, please. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Sorry doesn't erase $76,000. Sorry doesn't give me back the car I spent 20 years restoring. Sorry doesn't fix the trust you destroyed. Tom started to close the door. Goodbye, Ben. Wait. Tiffany shoved her foot in the door. You're not pressing charges. Watch me. If you press charges, I'll make sure everyone knows what kind of father you were. I'll tell everyone how you neglected Ben, How you cared more about your stupid car than your own son. I'll ruin your reputation, your business, everything. Tom looked at her for a long moment. Then he laughed, a cold, bitter sound. Go ahead, try. See what happens when you slander me. My business has been in this town for 40 years. I have a reputation. People know me. But you're a gold digger who married my son for his supposed money. Everyone already knows what you are, Tiffany. They knew it the day you showed up at our Christmas party, wearing a designer dress and asking if we'd bought property in Florida yet. Her face flushed red. How dare you? Get out! Tom slammed the door. The lock clicked. Through the window, I watched them argue on the lawn. Tiffany was screaming, her arms waving. Ben just stood there, crying. They left 10 minutes later. Tiffany's Mercedes tore out of the driveway fast enough to leave rubber marks on the street. Tom sat down heavily at the kitchen table, his hands shaking. I made coffee, and we sat in silence, processing the confrontation. Are you really calling the police tomorrow? I asked. I'm calling my lawyer first, then the police. I want everything documented properly. No room for them to claim I'm lying or exaggerating. Tom, I know. He rubbed his face. I know this is going to be hard. Hell, it's already hard. But Sue, if we don't do this, they'll keep taking. Tiffany will keep pushing, and Ben will keep stealing, and we'll end up broke and broken. I won't let that happen. He's our son. He's a thief who chose his greedy wife over his parents. Tom looked at me, his eyes red. I didn't want to believe it. God, I tried so hard to find another explanation. But the evidence doesn't lie. He's been stealing from us for months, planning it, hiding it. And when he got caught, his only concern was getting more money for an apartment he can't afford. I wanted to argue, wanted to defend Ben, to find some excuse that would make this hurt less. But I couldn't. Tom was right. Our son had betrayed us, and no amount of parental love would change that fact. What do we do now? I asked. We protect ourselves, we rebuild, and we make damn sure they never hurt us again. The lawyer's name was Patricia Chen, sharp-eyed, no nonsense, with a reputation for winning tough cases. Tom had hired her 3 days ago. We sat in her office downtown, the binder spread across her desk. This is excellent documentation, Patricia said, flipping through the pages. Your husband built a solid case. The bank statements, the forged signatures, the credit card statements. This is enough to press charges. Identity theft alone carries serious penalties. What kind of penalties? I asked. Federal crime, up to 15 years in prison and a $250,000 fine. That's for the identity theft and fraud. The forgery is separate. Grand larceny for the amount stolen. Your son is looking at significant prison time if convicted. Tom nodded slowly. What are our options? You can press charges through the police and let the district attorney handle prosecution, or you can pursue civil remedies. Sue for the money back, plus damages, or both. Most clients in your situation do both. How long would a criminal case take? Depends. 6 months to a year before trial, most likely. Maybe longer if they push for delays. A civil case might be faster. Tom leaned back in his chair. What if we want them to sweat first? Make them think about what they did before we drop the hammer. Patricia's eyebrows rose. You want to leverage the threat of prosecution. I want justice, but I also want them to understand the severity of what they've done. Right now, Ben thinks he can cry and apologize, and we'll forgive him. Tiffany thinks she can threaten us into backing down. They need to learn they're wrong. What do you have in mind? Information warfare, Tom said. Tiffany's been bragging about their lifestyle on social media. The Paris trip, the apartment hunt, the designer clothes. She posts everything. What if people knew where that money came from? I stared at Tom. You want to expose them publicly? I want people to know the truth, that my son stole from his parents to fund his wife's lifestyle. that they're living a lie built on fraud and theft. Patricia frowned. I'd advise against direct social media posts. That opens you up to defamation suits, even if what you're saying is true, but there are other ways to spread information. Like what? Community networks, business connections. If you're known in town, word spreads fast. Mention the situation to a few trusted people, your accountant, your pastor, your business partners. Frame it as asking for advice on how to handle a difficult family situation. People talk, the truth gets out. Tom nodded slowly. That works. There's something else, Patricia said. The apartment your son wants to rent, the Riverside Towers. You mentioned knowing the building owner. Rick Paulson, old high school buddy. Perfect. You should contact him immediately. Inform him that your son is attempting to rent an apartment using potentially fraudulent financial information. Any documents Ben submits should be verified independently. Rick will appreciate the heads up. Nobody wants a tenant with a criminal record moving in. I'll call him today. Patricia made notes in her legal pad. I'll draft a cease and desist letter to send to your son and daughter-in-law. It will formally notify them that you're aware of the theft, that you've documented everything, and that further contact will result in immediate legal action. It'll also demand repayment of all stolen funds within 30 days. They don't have the money to repay us, I said. Doesn't matter. It establishes your position legally. When they fail to repay, it strengthens your case for prosecution. We spent another hour going over details. Bank accounts to freeze, credit cards to close, security measures to prevent further theft. By the time we left Patricia's office, I felt both empowered and exhausted. Tom called Rick Paulson from the car. Rick, it's Tom Harper. Yeah, been a while. Listen, I need to talk to you about something sensitive. He explained the situation carefully. Ben's theft, the forged documents, the stolen car money. Rick listened without interrupting. I'm telling you this as a friend, Tom finished. If Ben applies for an apartment at your building, I'd appreciate if you verify his financial information extra carefully. I don't want to see you get scammed by fraudulent documents. Rick's voice came through the speaker. Jesus, Tom. I'm sorry you're dealing with this. And yeah, thanks for the heads up. We always do background checks, but I'll make sure his application gets extra scrutiny. Between you and me, he already submitted preliminary paperwork. His financial statements looked suspicious. Too perfect. Now I know why. Tom's jaw clenched. He already applied? 2 days ago. Haven't approved anything yet. After this conversation, I definitely won't be approving it. I'll send him a rejection notice today. Thank you. Hey, what are old friends for? And Tom, I'm sorry about your son. That's a hell of a thing to go through. Tom hung up and sat in the parking lot, hands gripping the steering wheel. They're going to be pissed when they get rejected. Good, I said. Let them be pissed. The cease and desist letter arrived at Ben's address 3 days later. Patricia sent us a copy. It was 4 pages of legal language that boiled down to, we know what you did, pay us back or face prosecution. Ben called that evening, frantic. Dad, what the hell is this? A legal letter? You're really doing this? Tom put him on speaker. Yes. You're going to sue me? Your own son? If you don't repay what you stole, yes, absolutely. I don't have the money. We spent it. How am I supposed to pay back $76,000? Not my problem. You stole it, you figure out how to return it. This is insane. Tiff's lawyer says we can fight this. She says you don't have a case because I'm family and I had access to the accounts. Tom laughed. Tiffany has a lawyer already. Interesting. Tell her lawyer to read the forgery statutes. Having access doesn't mean having permission. And you didn't have access to forge my signature or open credit cards in my name. That's identity theft, Ben. Federal crime. Silence on the line. Then Tiffany's voice, sharp and furious. You're going to regret this, Tom. We'll make sure everyone knows what a terrible father you are. We'll destroy your reputation. Try it. See what happens. We will. We'll tell everyone how you neglected Ben, how you cared more about your car than your family, how you're a bitter old man who can't stand to see his son succeed." Tom hung up. 5 minutes later, my phone rang. Ben calling my number. "Mom, please, make him stop. He's going to ruin our lives." "Ben, you ruined your own lives when you started stealing. It wasn't supposed to be like this. Tiff said her parents would help us get established, but they didn't. They expected us to be independent. I didn't know what to do. The wedding expenses, the apartment costs. Everything was so much more than I expected. I panicked. So you stole from your father. I was desperate. You were selfish. There's a difference. Mum, Ben, listen to me. Your father is not backing down. He's not going to forget this. You need to understand that your actions have consequences. Real consequences. Not just anger or disappointment, but legal consequences. Prison, Ben. Do you understand? You could go to prison for this." His voice cracked. "I know. I'm scared, Mom. I'm so scared." My heart twisted. He was still my son, still the little boy who used to hold my hand crossing the street, but he was also a thief who'd betrayed his family. "Then you should have thought about that before you forged your father's signature," I said quietly. "I'm sorry, Ben. I love you, but I can't help you this time." I hung up. Tom was watching me from the kitchen doorway. "You okay?" "No, but I will be." He crossed the room and hugged me. We stood there in the living room, holding each other, mourning the son we'd lost. The next morning, Patricia called with news. The apartment application was officially rejected. Rick sent a letter citing insufficient financial verification. Ben and Tiffany can't rent the penthouse. "How long until they figure out why?" Tom asked. "Maybe they already have. The rejection letter was carefully worded, but it's clear enough. They'll know you were involved." "Good. There's something else. I've been doing some digging into Tiffany's background. You mentioned she came from money. Her parents are loaded. Big house, country club membership, the works. Interesting. Because I found bankruptcy filings from 10 years ago. Tiffany's father lost everything in a bad real estate deal. They recovered somewhat, but they're not nearly as wealthy as they pretend to be. The house is mortgaged to the hilt. The country club membership was a gift from Tiffany's grandmother before she died." I sat up straight. "So Tiffany lied about her family's wealth?" "It appears so, which means she married Ben expecting him to support her lifestyle. When she realized you weren't actually rich, she pushed Ben to steal to maintain appearances." Tom's face hardened. "She's a con artist." "Essentially, yes. And your son was either too love-blind or too weak to resist." We sat in silence, processing this information. "Can we use this somehow?" Tom asked. "Potentially. If she's been lying to other people about her background, that could be leveraged. Social pressure, reputational damage. But that's a grey area legally. We'd need to be careful." "What if the truth just got out, accidentally?" Patricia smiled thinly. "Accidents happen, especially in small towns where everybody knows everybody." The rumors started circulating within a week. Tom mentioned Ben's theft to his accountant, Frank Morrison. Frank mentioned it to his wife. His wife mentioned it to her sister, who was in a book club with half the women in town. Within days, everyone knew that Ben Harper had stolen from his parents to fund his wife's expensive lifestyle. The story grew with each retelling. Some versions had Ben stealing $100,000. Others claimed Tiffany had seduced Ben specifically to steal his inheritance. None of it was entirely accurate, but the core truth remained. Ben Harper was a thief, and his wife was a gold digger. Tiffany's social media went dark. No more posts about designer handbags or fancy dinners. Her Instagram, which had been updated daily, hadn't been touched in 6 days. Tom's phone rang constantly. Old friends calling to offer support. Business partners asking if he needed help. Even people we hadn't talked to in years reached out, shocked by the news. And then, 2 weeks after the apartment rejection, Ben showed up at Tom's auto shop. I wasn't there. Tom told me about it that evening. Ben had walked in just before closing, looking haggard. He'd lost weight. His clothes were rumpled, dark circles under his eyes. "Dad," he'd said, "please, can we talk?" Tom had gestured to his office. They'd sat down, father and son, in the place where Tom had taught Ben to change oil when he was 12. "Tiff left me," Ben said. Tom waited. She went back to her parents' house. Said she couldn't handle the pressure. Everyone staring at us, whispering. Her friends stopped calling. Her parents won't talk to me. She blamed me for everything. Said I ruined her life. "You ruined your own lives," Tom said. "I know." Ben's voice was hollow. "I know, Dad. I thought I could handle it. Thought I could make her happy, but I couldn't. She wanted more and more, and I didn't know how to say no. I loved her. I still love her. But she's gone." "Good." Ben looked up, startled. "She was poisonous," Tom said. "She saw you as a meal ticket, and when the money dried up, she left." "That's not love, Ben. That's exploitation." I know that now. But Dad, I'm drowning here. The stolen money, the legal letters, everyone talking about me. I can't take it. I need help." "You need to pay back what you stole." "I don't have it. I told you. We spent it. The Paris trip, the furniture, Tiff's shopping. It's gone. All of it." Tom leaned back in his chair. "Then you need to get a job. A real job. Not some cushy office position your mother-in-law's friend got you. A real, working job. You need to earn back that money the hard way." "I have a job. Working part-time at Tiffany's father's insurance office doesn't count, especially since he's probably going to fire you now that you're separated. You need a full-time job with real pay. And you need to start making payments to me. Whatever you can afford. $100 a week, 200, whatever. But you start paying back what you stole." Ben wiped his eyes. "And if I do that, will you drop the charges?" "Maybe. If you show real effort to make this right. If you get a job, start paying back the money, and prove you understand the severity of what you did. Maybe then we can talk about not pursuing prosecution." "Thank you, Dad." "Thank you. Don't thank me yet. You're going to work your ass off for years to pay this back. And Ben, if you ever steal from me again, if you ever lie to me again, I won't hesitate. I'll press charges immediately. No second chances. Understand?" "Yes, I understand. I swear, I'll make this right." Tom had sent him away with a list of places hiring. Construction companies, warehouses, landscaping crews, hard jobs, physical jobs, the kind of work Ben had spent his life avoiding. "Do you think he'll actually do it?" I asked Tom that night. "I don't know, but it's his only option. He can't get money from Tiffany anymore. Her parents aren't helping him. He's got nowhere else to turn." "What about Eleanor? Any progress on buying her back?" Tom's face brightened slightly. "Dale Freeman called yesterday. He's willing to sell her back to me for what he paid Ben, $45,000. I talked to the bank about a loan. They approved me, but the interest is brutal. It'll take me years to pay off. Is it worth it? Sue, I spent 20 years on that car. 20 years of weekends, of saving up for parts, of learning new skills. She's not just a car. She's proof that I can build something beautiful, something that lasts. Yeah, it's worth it." I kissed him. "Then do it. Bring Eleanor home." 2 days later, Ben called. He'd gotten a job at a local construction company. Entry level, physically demanding, 40 hours a week. The pay was decent, enough to live on if he was careful. "I start Monday," he told Tom, "and I'll start making payments next month after I get my first paycheck. 200 a week, like you said. Good. Keep me updated. Dad, I'm sorry for everything. I know I can't undo what I did, but I'm going to try to make it right. Actions speak louder than words, son. Show me you mean it." Ben hung up. Tom looked exhausted but hopeful. "Maybe he'll actually change," I said. "Maybe. Or maybe he'll quit after a week when he realizes construction work is hard. We'll see." Eleanor came home on a Tuesday afternoon. Dale Freeman delivered her personally, driving her from the dealership to our house. Tom walked around her 3 times, inspecting every inch, making sure she hadn't been damaged. "She's perfect," Dale said. "I only had her a few weeks. Didn't even drive her much. She's exactly how you left her." Tom handed him the check. $45,000, borrowed from the bank, carrying 5 years of debt. But his face, when he looked at Eleanor, pure joy. "Thank you," Tom said, "for everything, for calling Sue, for protecting my car, for being honest." Dale shook his hand. "Sometimes you can tell when something matters to someone. This car matters to you. I couldn't let your son just throw that away." Tom pulled Eleanor into the garage, her engine purring smooth and perfect. He closed the garage door and locked it. A new padlock he'd installed specifically for this. Nobody was taking Eleanor again. That night, we sat on the porch watching the sunset, Tom's hand in mine. Eleanor safe in the garage. Ben starting a new job, maybe beginning to understand responsibility. "We're going to be okay," Tom said. "Yeah, we will. But Sue, I'm never trusting Ben again. Not completely. Not with anything important." I squeezed his hand. "I know. Me neither." Ben lasted 2 months on the construction job. 2 months of early mornings, physical labor, and coming home exhausted. He made his payments, $200 a week, every week, like clockwork. Tom deposited each check without comment. Then Tiffany came back. I heard about it from Lisa Morrison, Frank's wife. She'd seen them at a restaurant downtown, looking cozy. Tiffany's hand on Ben's arm, both of them laughing over wine. "I thought they split up," Lisa said. "So did we." I called Ben that evening. "I heard you're seeing Tiffany again." Long silence. "Who told you?" "Doesn't matter." "Is it true?" "Mum, it's complicated. She apologized. She said she reacted badly to the stress, that she didn't mean to leave. We're trying to work things out." "Ben, no. She's the reason you're in this mess. She's the reason you stole from your father. She didn't force me to do anything. I made my own choices. Choices she influenced, choices she encouraged. Ben, she left you the second things got hard. She abandoned you. And now she's back. Why do you think that is? Because she loves me. Or because she heard you have a job now, a steady paycheck. You don't know her like I do. I know exactly what she is, and so does your father. If you get back together with her, you're making the biggest mistake of your life. It's my life, Mom. I can make my own decisions." "Yes, you can, but don't expect us to save you when she drains you dry again." I hung up, furious and terrified. Tom took the news worse than I did. "He's an idiot," Tom said flatly. "A complete, absolute idiot. She's going to rob him blind, and he's going to let her." "Should we do something?" "Like what? He's an adult. We can't stop him from making stupid decisions. We can only protect ourselves." Patricia Chen agreed. "If Ben gets back together with his wife, I'd recommend keeping your financial distance. No loans, no co-signing, no access to accounts. Treat him like a stranger when it comes to money." "We already do," Tom said. "Good. And if he starts stealing again, even small amounts, document everything and prosecute immediately. You gave him a second chance. You don't owe him a third." 3 weeks later, Ben called Tom. "Dad, I need to talk to you about something." Tom met him at a diner near the shop. Neutral ground. I waited at home, anxious. Tom came back 2 hours later looking disgusted. "He wants a loan," Tom said. $10,000. Says he and Tiffany are getting a fresh start, but they need money for a security deposit on a new apartment. "What did you tell him?" "I told him no, absolutely not. He's still paying back the $76,000 he stole. He's not getting another cent until that's cleared." "How did he react?" "He cried, said I didn't trust him, that he was trying to change, that Tiffany really was different now. I told him I didn't believe him and I didn't trust him. Then I left." That night, Tom changed the locks on our house. He also changed the locks on the shop and installed security cameras. Just in case, he said. Just in case our son tried to steal from us again. 2 days later, Patricia called with urgent news. Tom, I just got off the phone with a detective from the fraud division. Someone filed a police report about identity theft. They're opening an investigation into Ben Harper. Tom sat up straight. What? We didn't file a report yet. It wasn't you. It was one of the credit card companies. They routinely audit for fraud, and they flagged the cards opened in your name. When they investigated, they found the forged signatures and opened a criminal case. The detective wants to interview you. When? Tomorrow morning, if possible. He needs your statement and the documentation you've been collecting. Tom looked at me. It's out of our hands now. We met Detective Raymond Carr the next morning at the police station. He was a weathered man in his 50s, with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor. Mr. Harper, I need you to walk me through everything. From the first time you noticed missing money to the most recent incident. Tom told the story. Every detail, every stolen dollar, every forged signature. He handed over the binder, the bank statements, all the evidence he'd collected. Detective Carr flipped through the pages, his expression darkening. This is extensive. Your son stole over $70,000 from you over 8 months. Yes. And you've been documenting everything. I wanted to be sure before I took action. I needed proof it wasn't a mistake or a misunderstanding. You have proof. This is one of the clearest cases of identity theft and fraud I've seen. Carr closed the binder. I'll need to interview your son and his wife, since she appears to have benefited from the stolen funds. They could both face charges. My stomach clenched. Both of them? If she knew the money was stolen and spent it anyway, yes. Receiving stolen property, conspiracy to commit fraud. There are several potential charges. What happens now? Tom asked. I'll issue a summons for your son and daughter-in-law to come in for questioning. We'll get their statements, compare them to your evidence, and present everything to the district attorney. If the DA decides to prosecute, and based on what I'm seeing, he will, they'll be formally charged. Tom nodded slowly. How long does this take? Couple weeks for the interviews and DA review, then arraignment, trial prep. You're looking at 6 months minimum before this goes to trial. Maybe longer. We left the police station in silence. This was real now, official. Ben was going to be arrested, charged, possibly convicted. Our son could go to prison. I know you're thinking about him, Tom said quietly as we drove home, about what this means for his future. But Sue, he did this to himself. We gave him a chance to make it right. He chose to get back with Tiffany instead. He chose to ask for more money instead of focusing on paying back what he stole. This is on him. I know, but he's still our son. He stopped being our son when he stole from us. Now he's just a criminal who happens to share our DNA. The words hurt, but I couldn't argue with them. Ben called that evening, frantic. Dad, the police called me. They want me to come in for questioning about identity theft. What the hell did you do? I didn't do anything, Tom said calmly. The credit card company flagged the fraud. They opened an investigation. This is out of my hands now, Ben. You could tell them it was a misunderstanding. Tell them I had permission. But you didn't have permission. I never authorized those credit cards. I never authorized the forged checks. You stole, Ben, and now you're going to face the consequences. Dad, please. If they charge me, I'll lose my job. I'll have a record. My life will be over. You should have thought of that before you committed felony fraud. I can't believe you're doing this to me. Your own son. I'm not doing anything to you. You did this to yourself. Ben's voice broke. Please, Dad. Please don't let them arrest me. I'll pay back everything, I swear. I'll work 3 jobs. I'll sell everything I own. Just please, don't let this happen. Tom's face was stone. It's already happening. You can't stop it. I can't stop it. The only thing you can do now is cooperate with the investigation and hope the DA shows mercy. What about you? Will you ask them to show mercy? Long silence. Then, No, I won't. Tom hung up. I held him as he cried. My strong, stoic husband, breaking down in my arms. He'd given our son every chance, every opportunity to make things right. And Ben had thrown it all away for a woman who didn't love him and a lifestyle he couldn't afford. The next morning, Ben and Tiffany went to the police station for questioning. They spent 3 hours giving statements. When they emerged, Ben looked destroyed. Tiffany looked furious. Detective Carr called Tom that afternoon. Your son admitted to everything. The theft, the forgery, the credit card fraud. His wife claims she didn't know the money was stolen, but her spending patterns suggest otherwise. We're forwarding everything to the DA for prosecution. What are the chances they'll be charged? For your son, 100%. For the wife, maybe 70-30. Depends on whether the DA thinks they can prove she knowingly received stolen property. How soon? Charges will be filed within 2 weeks. They'll be arraigned shortly after. Then it's up to the courts. Tom thanked him and hung up. We sat in the kitchen, processing the reality that our son was about to be arrested. I don't feel guilty, Tom said suddenly. I thought I would. Thought I'd regret this, feel like I betrayed him. But I don't. He betrayed us. He stole from us. He deserves what's coming. I took his hand. I feel the same way. Is that wrong? No, it's honest. And Sue, whatever happens next, we're in this together. We protect each other first. Ben made his choices. Now he lives with them. The charges came down 2 weeks later. Benjamin Thomas Harper was formally charged with identity theft, fraud, forgery, and grand larceny. Tiffany Marie Harper was charged with conspiracy to commit fraud and receiving stolen property. The arraignment was scheduled for a Tuesday morning. Tom and I didn't attend. Patricia advised against it. Our presence might seem like support, and we needed to maintain distance. Ben called afterward, his voice hollow. They set bail at $50,000. I can't make bail, Dad. I can't afford it. The bail bondsman wants 10% cash and I don't have it. Then you'll wait in county jail until trial. Dad, please, just loan me the $5,000 for the bondsman. I'll pay you back. I swear. No. But, Ben, I'm not giving you money to get out of jail for stealing money from me. Do you understand how insane that sounds? Figure it out yourself. Tom hung up. His hands were shaking, but his jaw was set. Tiffany's parents will probably bail him out, I said. Maybe. Or maybe they'll leave him to rot. Either way, not our problem. The next day, Ben posted bail, $5,000, paid by Tiffany's father. He moved back in with his in-laws, back to the house Tiffany grew up in. The house mortgaged to the hilt, the family pretending to wealth they didn't have. 3 days later, Tiffany filed for divorce. The news came through Lisa Morrison again. Tiffany's telling everyone Ben is abusive, that he forced her to participate in the fraud. She's painting herself as a victim. Of course she is, Tom said bitterly. Can't let the truth ruin her reputation. Patricia heard about it through legal channels. Tiffany hired a lawyer, a good one. She's claiming duress. That Ben threatened her if she didn't help spend the money. It's a common defense in conspiracy cases. Will it work? I asked. Maybe. If she's convincing enough, if the jury believes her, she might get the charges dropped or reduced. Your son, though, he's going to prison, no question. The trial was set for 4 months out. In the meantime, Ben lost his construction job. Having pending felony charges made him unhireable. He couldn't find work anywhere. He called Tom, desperate. I can't make the payments anymore. I don't have a job. I can't pay you back. Then you're in default on our agreement. I'll be informing the DA that you failed to make restitution. What does that mean? It means the DA will push for a harsher sentence. It means you'll serve more time because you didn't even try to make things right. I did try. I worked for 2 months. I paid you $4,000. $4,000 out of $76,000. That's 5%, Ben. 5%. You stole from me for 8 months and you worked to repay me for 2. That's not trying. That's token effort. I'm doing the best I can. Your best isn't good enough. Ben broke down crying. I'm going to prison, aren't I? I'm actually going to prison. Yes, you are. How long? Depends on the judge. Could be 3 years, could be 10. Patricia says the DA is pushing for maximum sentencing because you showed no remorse and made minimal effort to repay what you stole. No remorse? I apologized. I tried to make things right. You got back together with Tiffany, the woman who pushed you to steal in the first place. That's not remorse, Ben. That's stupidity. Tom hung up. I found him in the garage that night, sitting in Eleanor, hands on the steering wheel. Not going anywhere, just sitting. You okay? I asked. I don't know. Part of me feels vindicated. He's getting what he deserves. But another part of me feels like I failed as a father. Like I should have seen this coming, should have stopped it somehow. You didn't fail. Ben made his choices. Did he? Or did I raise him wrong? Did I work too much, spend too much time on this car, not enough time teaching him values? Tom, no. We raised him the same way we raised ourselves. We taught him right from wrong. He chose wrong. That's on him. Tom turned to look at me, his eyes red. Then why does it hurt so much? Because he's our son, and even when they betray us, even when they destroy our trust, we still love them. That's what makes this so hard. We sat in the garage for an hour, not talking, just being together. Eleanor's leather seats creaked softly. The smell of polish and motor oil filled the air. Tom's safe place, his sanctuary. Finally he spoke. When this is over, when the trial's done and he's sentenced, I want to take a drive in Eleanor. Just the two of us, somewhere far away. Leave all this behind for a while. I'd like that. The months dragged by. Ben's court-appointed lawyer tried to negotiate a plea deal, reduce charges in exchange for a guilty plea and agreement to pay restitution. The DA refused. The evidence was too strong, the crime too clear. They wanted a trial and a conviction. Tiffany's lawyer was more successful. He convinced the DA that she was a victim of Ben's manipulation, that she genuinely didn't know the money was stolen. The conspiracy charge was dropped. The receiving stolen property charge was reduced to a misdemeanor with probation. Tiffany walked away with a slap on the wrist. She moved back to her parents' house, resumed her social media presence, and started dating a lawyer from her father's firm within a month. Ben watched his wife move on while he prepared for trial. He called Tom one last time before the trial date. Dad, I'm not asking for money. I'm not asking for help. I just need you to know that I'm sorry. Truly, deeply sorry. I destroyed everything. My marriage, my relationship with you and Mom, my future. All of it gone. Because I was weak and stupid and greedy. I know you'll never forgive me. I don't deserve forgiveness. But I need you to know that I understand now. I understand what I did, what I took from you, and I'm sorry. Tom's voice was cold. Sorry doesn't change anything, Ben. You're going to prison. You're going to serve years behind bars. And when you get out, you'll have a felony record. You'll struggle to find work, to rent an apartment, to build any kind of life. That's your future now. Because you stole from your parents. I know. Good. At least you finally understand. Tom paused. Ben, I loved you. Past tense. I loved the boy you were. But I don't love the man you became. That man is a stranger to me. When you go to prison, I won't visit. I won't write. I won't accept your calls. As far as I'm concerned, you're not my son anymore. You're just another criminal who got caught. Silence on the line. Then a soft sound. Ben crying. Goodbye, Ben. Tom hung up and turned off his phone. The trial lasted 3 days. Tom and I attended every moment, sitting in the back of the courtroom, watching our son's life unravel. The prosecution presented the evidence methodically. Bank statements, forged signatures, credit card bills. Tom's testimony was clinical and precise. He explained the timeline, the discovery, the documentation. He showed no emotion. Ben's lawyer tried to paint him as a desperate man, pushed to extremes by financial pressure and a manipulative wife, but the evidence was overwhelming. Ben had stolen systematically, deliberately, over many months. He'd hidden his tracks, lied to his parents, and continued stealing even after the wedding. Tiffany appeared as a witness for the prosecution, playing the victim perfectly. She claimed she thought the money came from Tom's business, that Ben told her his parents were wealthy and happy to help. She cried on the stand. The jury ate it up. Ben took the stand in his own defense. It was a mistake. The prosecutor tore him apart. Mr. Harper, you stole $76,000 from your parents. Is that correct? Yes, but... Yes or no, Mr. Harper? Yes. You forged your father's signature on multiple checks? Yes. You opened credit cards in your father's name without permission? Yes. You spent the stolen money on vacations, furniture, and your wife's shopping. We had expenses. Yes or no? Yes. And when your parents discovered the theft, you asked them for more money. I thought, yes or no, Mr. Harper? Ben's shoulders slumped. Yes. No further questions. The defense tried to rehabilitate him, asked about his remorse, his efforts to repay, his difficult situation. Ben cried on the stand, talked about loving his parents, about making terrible mistakes, about wanting to make things right. The prosecutor destroyed him on cross-examination. Mr. Harper, you say you wanted to make things right, but you got back together with your ex-wife, correct? The woman who encouraged you to steal. She didn't encourage. You got back together with her, yes or no? Yes. And you asked your father for another loan of $10,000 after getting back together with her. I needed, yes or no? Yes. That's making things right, asking for more money. Ben had no answer. The jury deliberated for 6 hours. When they returned, their faces were grim. On the count of identity theft, how do you find? Guilty. On the count of fraud? Guilty. On the count of forgery? Guilty. On the count of grand larceny? Guilty. Ben collapsed in his chair. His lawyer put a hand on his shoulder, but Ben shook it off. He sat there, head in his hands, as the judge scheduled sentencing for 2 weeks out. Tom and I walked out of the courthouse into bright sunshine. It felt surreal. Our son was a convicted felon. He'd be sentenced to years in prison. And I felt nothing. Just empty. It's over, Tom said. Not yet. Still have sentencing. That's a formality. He's going away. The question is, for how long? 2 weeks later, we returned to the courthouse for sentencing. The judge was a stern woman in her 60s, who'd clearly seen too many cases like Ben's. The prosecutor argued for the maximum, 10 years for each count, to run consecutively. 40 years total. The defense argued for leniency. Ben was a first-time offender. He'd shown remorse. He'd made some effort to repay. The judge listened impassively. Then she spoke. Mr. Harper, you stole from the people who gave you life. Your parents worked hard to build a business, to provide for you, to give you opportunities, and you repaid them by stealing $76,000. You forged documents. You destroyed their credit. You sold your father's most prized possession to fund a vacation. This wasn't desperation. This was entitlement. You felt you deserved their money, their trust, their possessions. And when you were caught, you showed minimal remorse. You got back together with the woman who encouraged your crimes. You asked for more money. Even now, I see no real understanding of what you've done. Ben stood frozen, his lawyer beside him. The law allows me to sentence you to up to 40 years in prison. I'm not going to do that. But I am going to send a message that crimes against family members, people who should be able to trust each other implicitly, will not be treated lightly. She paused. The courtroom was silent. On the count of identity theft, I sentence you to 8 years in state prison. On the count of fraud, 5 years, to run concurrently. On the count of forgery, 5 years, to run concurrently. On the count of grand larceny, 6 years, to run concurrently. Total sentence, 8 years in state prison, with eligibility for parole after 5 years, contingent on full restitution being made to the victims. 8 years. Ben would be 38 when he got out. His 20s and half his 30s, gone. He didn't cry, didn't react, just stood there as the bailiff led him away in handcuffs. Tom and I walked out of the courthouse for the last time. We drove home in silence. When we got there, Tom went straight to the garage. I found him an hour later, sitting in Eleanor again. 8 years, he said, yes. He'll be almost 40 when he gets out, middle-aged, a felon with no career, no skills, no future. He did it to himself. I know. But Sue, when I think about the boy he was, the kid who helped me sand Eleanor's frame, who held the flashlight while I worked under the hood, who was so excited to learn about engines, I can't reconcile that with the man who stole from us. Where did that boy go? I sat in the passenger seat. I don't know. Maybe he grew up and made bad choices. Maybe Tiffany corrupted him. Maybe he was always like this and we just didn't see it. Does it matter? No, I suppose it doesn't. We sat in Eleanor for a long time. Then Tom started the engine. The Shelby roared to life, that beautiful rumble that Tom had spent 20 years perfecting. Let's drive, he said. Where? Anywhere. Everywhere. Away from here. We pulled out of the garage and drove. Out of town, onto the highway, into the open country. Tom opened her up, let Eleanor run. The speedometer climbed, 60, 70, 80. The wind roared through the open windows. The sun was setting, painting the sky orange and red. Tom's hands were steady on the wheel. His face was calm. Whatever demons he'd been wrestling with, whatever guilt or anger or regret, it was gone now, or at least contained. We're going to be okay, he said over the engine's roar. I know. Better than okay, we're going to rebuild, strengthen the business, enjoy our life, and we're going to do it without Ben. What if he reaches out when he gets out of prison? What if he tries to reconcile? Tom was quiet for a long moment. Then we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. But Sue, I'm not holding my breath. Some bridges, once burned, can't be rebuilt, and I'm not sure I want to try. We drove until dark, then headed home. Eleanor's headlights cut through the night. The radio played classic rock. Tom sang along, off-key but happy. When we got home, he parked Eleanor in the garage and locked it tight. We went inside, made dinner, and sat on the couch watching a movie neither of us really paid attention to. Thank you, Tom said suddenly. For what? For standing by me through this, for not telling me to forgive him, to give him more chances, for understanding why I had to do this. You're my husband. We're a team, always have been. He pulled me close. We sat like that until the movie ended, then went to bed. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, but tonight we had each other. And we had Eleanor safe in the garage. And we had the knowledge that we'd done the right thing, even when it hurt.